Good morning, folks. I'm Pete from Connext Post and Beam. You may recognize me if you've been watching our videos in the past. This morning I want to give you a little demonstration of our three-way connectors. This happens to be a 5.5-inch three-way, and it's 5.5-inch for a 5.5-inch post. Typically pressure treated 6x6 is 5.5. So there you are, 5.5. The bottom portion, as the same with our T-Rex, goes down into the vertical slot, which you see here. The plate is typically 10 inches, and it's 9 inches wide. And the reason we make this 10 inches is a lot of people will use a 5.5 by 10, a 5.5 by 12, and then of course a lot of people will use something that's not as deep, especially with the 5.5-inch vertical post. So here's an example. You'll have to use your imagination a little bit, but this is a 6 by 7.5. So that's quite typical. You might have a 7.5-inch beam on top of your vertical post. So you slot your beam just the way you would normally. Don't forget, we're going to drill and then we're going to put pins in here to hold this whole assembly together. So you can see how this goes. This is the two 6 by 7.5 beams on top of the 5.5-inch vertical post. So now we got a problem, because the tongue, or this plate, is 10 inches. That allows for anybody to use anything up to 12-inch timber on top. If it's smaller, we have to cut the plate. We got too much aluminum up here. So now we're going to show you how easy it is to trim the plate to whatever size you need to accommodate your beam that's on top. So I'm going to take this apart and we're going to go over to the table saw. Alright, so we know we want to trim the top of this aluminum, and that's very easy to do on a table saw. Now today there are all kinds of blades out there that will cut aluminum or steel. I would suggest if you've only got one or two and you've got an old blade with carbide teeth, the more teeth the better. If you're like most people, you got a bunch of blades that you're never going to use and you hate to throw them away. Throw it on here, cut the aluminum, and then you can get rid of it, finally. So we want to cut this so that we've got 8 inches for our timber that's on top of our vertical post. So I set the blade. As a safety habit, I always make a point of keeping it 1/8 above the surface we're cutting. We're going to use a push stick, and because you're going to throw a lot of chips, I got to caution you, wear glasses, wear safety glasses or goggles, and then we're going to just simply rip it. Now depending, sometimes I'll use a piece of cardboard, but if you keep the blade down, you won't get much in the way of chips. So that's it. Now we've cut that to 8 inches. Now when we go back over to the example, you'll see how nicely that works. Okay. Put your puzzle pieces in. Okay, typically you're just going to put a couple of small screws in here. You don't need much, it's just holding things in place. And then, alright, so that's for your 8-inch timber. It's that simple. You can trim them very easily.